Dune series is one of my favorite series of all time. I've read it many, many times, and the first time I read it was probably in the early 90s in Hungary. I just completed reading Dune Messiah for probably the fourth or fifth time. Dune Messiah takes place about 12 years after the events of Dune, and in it, Paul Atreides is now the emperor of the known universe. In those 12 years, the religious zealotry that Paul and his mother intentionally ignited in Dune has prompted Paul's Fremen to wage holy war, or jihad, across the known universe. The war has taken them to sterilizing 90 planets, and they have exterminated over 61 billion people, wiping out more than 40 different religions in the process. There can be only Paul. Alia, Paul's sister, and a full Reverend Mother from the very moment of the birth of her consciousness in her mother's womb, is now Saint Alia of the Knife. The pilgrims who arrive on Dune in the millions and billions in prayer and supplication to Paul's holy name. Jessica, Paul's mother, has retreated to Paul's homeworld of Caladan, where she absolutely refuses to allow pilgrims, Fremen, or other supplicants to visit her homeworld as a part of a pilgrimage on their way to visit Paul on the holy planet of Arrakis. And for reasons yet unknown, Chani, Paul's beloved, is unable to conceive and bear a child as Paul's heir. Paul's absolute stranglehold on the spice is total and complete, and therefore too is his control over the Spacing Guild, the Bene Gesserit, Reverend Mothers, Chom, and every other power center in the known universe. In this religious and economic environment, Paul's actions have bred a significant amount of contempt against him from the other power centers of the universe. And so they convene and form a plot against him to bring him down. The conspirators are the Reverend Helen Gaius Mohane, she who held the Gom Jabbar at Paul's neck and pronounced him human, Eru, Paul's wife in name only, and the daughter of the previous Padishah Emperor, Shaddam IV. Bijaz, seemingly insane dwarf who speaks only in riddles. Korba, a Fremen Fedaykin who is now the head of Paul's religion on Arrakis. Edric, a guild navigator whose only job in the conspiracy is to shroud the plot from Paul's prescience, because in the Dune universe, prescient individuals can hide from other prescient individuals. And finally, the mysterious and enigmatic face dancer Tleilaxu, known as Skytail. Face dancers and the Tleilaxu, the Bene Tleilax, are a new addition to the Dune universe in this book. And essentially, a face dancer is someone who can take on the appearance and the sound and the tone and the mannerisms of anyone they observe. I don't want to give away too much about what the plot is here or about what the conspiracy is, because half the fun of this book is understanding how these conspirators intend to bring down Paul Atreides. But I will say it involves the reanimated flesh of Duncan Idaho, Paul's dead but seemingly alive again sword master, trainer, and friend from the previous Dune novel. Dune Messiah is Frank Herbert's continued meditation on things like philosophy and psychology, science and religion, and the levers and wheels of power. The central theme of the book is the price that Paul must pay for his oracular vision. You see, Paul can see all eventualities of the future, and his choices allow him to navigate amongst many of the different futures that lay in store for the universe. Seeing into the future, Paul is haunted by the various options and futures that he sees. In some visions of the future, Paul sees humanity completely annihilated and eradicated. In other versions of his vision, he sees an endless cycle of war and violence with a never-ending resolution to the conflict. And in still other futures, he sees himself as an iron-fisted despot, crushing and destroying all dissent. Unlike in Dune, where Paul intentionally dives headfirst into fulfilling prophecy and taking on his role as a messiah, in Dune Messiah, Paul is looking for a way out of the oracular vision. Trying to avoid all of the worst potential outcomes of his choices, he is locked on a particular path, but that particular path draws him inexorably to his doom. I'm going to read a few passages from the book, and it's important to understand that in these passages, Paul's vision of the moon is representative of himself and his empire. It had taken a massive dose of the spice essence to penetrate the mud thrown up by the tarot. All it had shown him was a falling moon, and the hateful way he'd known from the beginning. To buy an end to the jihad, to silence the volcano of butchery, he must discredit himself. Unlike the masses that surround him, Paul has come to understand more keenly than anyone that he is definitely not a god, and that he is instead the mercy of forces that are much, much larger than him, forces he cannot comprehend or even hope to control. Frustrations tangled him. He felt the pressure of the mass unconscious, that burgeoning sweep of humankind across his universe. They rushed upon him with a force like a gigantic tidal bore. He sensed the vast migrations at work in human affairs, eddies, currents, gene flows. No dams of abstinence, no seizures of importance or maledictions could ever stop it. Muad'Dib's jihad was less than an eye blink in this larger movement. The Bene Gesserit swimming in this tide, that corporate entity trading in genes, was trapped in the torrent as he was. Visions of a falling moon must be measured against other legends, other visions, in a universe where even the seemingly eternal stars waned, flickered, died. What mattered a single moon in such a universe? Dune is really Frank Herbert's warning against surrendering our own agency to any charismatic leaders, whether they be religious or political. And it's certainly a warning against combining both the religious and the political into a singular force. And as much as it's a warning again to us to not surrender our agency to the powerful, it is also a warning to us about the lengths that the powerful will go to in order to protect their dominion and power over others. When religion and politics travel in the same cart, the riders believe nothing can stand in their way. Their movements become headlong, faster and faster and faster. They put aside all thoughts of obstacles and forget the precipice does not show itself to a man in a blind rush until it is too late.